Christine Assange, good evening.
Good evening, John.
Thank you very much for accepting this interview. It will mean a lot to fellow campaigners locally, nationally, and indeed internationally who are working on this cause.
I'm pleased to be here. A cause quite dear to my heart as well, as I lived in the area for quite a long time.
I see. Did you bring your children up here?
I did, Don. Actually, I chose the Dandenongs, and in particular around the Tecoma, Upway, Belgrave area to live in, and up Century Gully, precisely because of the beautiful nature and the small, thriving communities. I thought that was a good environment to raise my children. There's a saying, it takes a village to raise a child, and I believe in that statement. And I spent quite a lot of years up there. And I also took my grandchild up there regularly to walk through the forest from Tecoma to Belgrave and to go to the movies.
Christine, can you tell me your thoughts on the introduction of fast food chains such as McDonald's into the Dandenong Ranges?
Well, it's not just the Dandenong Rangers that's concerned about it. I believe in a number of places in Australia the communities have said that they don't want fast food in their communities. And apparently they were successful, weren't they, in the Blue Mountains in preventing McDonald's setting up there. I've got a couple of thoughts on it. From a visual aesthetic viewpoint, Tecoma is a very cute little village and has local stores, small stores in keeping with its community nature. And from an aesthetic perspective, McDonald's would be a visual blight. Just look at it. It's going to be set up opposite a school. Now, I'm very aware that many people in the Dandenongs and around the Tecoma area have chosen to live there because they enjoy nature and have children. And those same people often are people who are concerned about having healthy diets for their children. And McDonald's is not a healthy diet. And I would think that given the great push by the government for people to eat healthily, I can't understand why there have been court rulings enforcing this takeaway place with poor food onto a community that doesn't want it. And then, of course, we're getting onto that point. If the community doesn't want it at the levels that they don't want it, you've got 100,000 signatures or something now, don't you?
Getting close to it, yeah.
Well, that would indicate that not only does the local community not want it, but the people of Melbourne, 3 million people, access the Dandenongs as their backyard, a weekend backyard, really, to have a breath of fresh air, to experience the beautiful nature and a little bit of village life. And it would appear that they're not very happy with it as well. I'm very well aware of how hard it is to get 100,000 signatures. So there must be a lot of people in Melbourne who are also supporting you. So given all those things, I think that it's very bad form for McDonald's to be pushing the community around like that with court action, with the billions of dollars that they have, and knowing that a little community doesn't have that.
In a similar fashion to McLibel, McDonald's has decided to sue 8 members of our community that were part of the protest. As well as facing litigation, the Tecoma 8 and a further group of community members that were involved in the protest are under an injunction. Amongst other things, it's a restriction on their freedom of speech. For example, they're not allowed to incite others to interfere with work, and they're not allowed to encourage others in any way to restrict access to the site. Can you tell me your thoughts on this aspect of the injunction?
Well, along with freedom of speech, freedom of association is something that's actually in the American Constitution. And we should be having a Bill of Rights of some kind here to enshrine our rights as citizens as well. This is intimidatory tactics. They're not in keeping with a functioning democracy. And actually civil disobedience, which is what you guys are up to, has a long tradition of, including in the United States, of people physically preventing the others, bullies, from intimidating them. And it's a healthy thing to do. It's got a long tradition. It's a democratic thing to do. And people take it as a last resort usually when, petitions and pleadings haven't worked and they feel very strongly that there's a breach of some democratic process. And for the courts to deny them that right is a signal that our democracy is in trouble.
Indeed.
I think to give you a similar thing is what Julian's done with WikiLeaks. He has not breached any laws. He hasn't been charged with anything. He's won multiple awards, both in human rights and in journalism, for his work in alerting the world to the global nature of what's going on with US bully tactics. And yet he's ended up with his life threatened, false allegations put against him only to smear him, his asylum block, which is against international law, and so there's you're on the sort of micro, he's on the macro, but the issues are exactly the same. It's the same thing. You're standing up for exactly the same thing he's standing up for.
Interesting.
Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, core values of democracy, freedom of association. If you lose those three, you no longer have a democracy, you have a police state.
How effective do you think community protests are?
Very effective. As you know, the Blue Mountains won their case.
They did, that's right.
They're effective because they galvanise the community, and local issues galvanise more than other issues. If you're living in a community, you're in contact with other people, they are part of your community, they're part of your tribe, if you will. And the more you do it, like my son says, courage is contagious, and it is. The more people see you do it, the more people will join, the more that community bonding is happening, and the stronger you will become. And you also, I've retweeted the Tecoma protests, and people all over the world now know about it. And along the courage is contagious line, if people see a small community standing up against a great big corporate bully, it is inspiring to other communities. It's inspiring to other people. And then it encourages them. So while you're standing up for your community, you're also shining a light for other communities who wish to do the same.
Media has been an important aspect of the Tecoma campaign, and for a long time now McDonald's has been looking pretty bad. But after such terrible PR, one starts to wonder, are they shameless?
They are shameless. Look at the way they treat their staff, and they do it all over the world. It's pure exploitation, and there's no place for it in a lovely little community like Tecoma.
Christine, what do you think of the prospects of movements in general who face off with massive corporations and massive powers?
Well, that's the way history is, isn't it? If you look back over history, there's a saying, evil flourishes when good men do nothing. I think there's another one, I think it was Albert Einstein. He also said that the world will not fall apart because of what people do, but because of the people standing around doing nothing. So if you believe, I actually do believe that evil flourishes when good men do nothing, then good men need to stand up to prevent the forward movement of evil. And I'm not talking about evil in some spiritual context here, but just evil deeds, all right? People who are ruthless and greedy and have no compassion for other people. So really, the future of people's children, grandchildren, the planet really depends on good men standing up against evil. And that's the way we have improved things over the centuries. Our ancestors have done the same thing. And it needs to continue, because if we take our democracies, I mean, our ancestors fought hard for democracies. They died for them. Ours is not working properly, and always could have worked better. We can always improve on it. But if we slacken off, which what people have done, they've assumed it's all okay and it'll just go on as usual. But what has happened is, by people slacking off and not being vigilant, little bit by little bit, that creep comes back in. America's now a police state. Now we've got McDonald's muscling in and heavying the local community. So people do need to stand up and prevent it, and if they can, actually push it back.
Lastly, can you send some sort of message of support to the people of Tecoma, the surrounding area, and the thousands of concerned citizens who are contributing to the movement?
Oh, it's a hard one. I've been tweeting you. That goes out all over the world. Yeah, don't let them get away with it. You know, there's been instances of communities all over the world that have stood up and won. And you just keep going, because the world is watching, and you know that you're on the right side, and you will wear them down. You will wear them out. They'll get to a point where their accountants are going to go, it's just actually not worth it, and we'll actually go and try somewhere else, or we don't think there'll be so much opposition. So I just stay in the game and wear them out. Good on you.